Hey, I'm live finally. So I'm using a different camera and my screen is over here. So this is going to be a little distracting for me. So if you guys find I'm not looking in the right place, I'm super sorry about that. Erin Zen Warrior here. So I've been quite excited to do this post for a few days now. And just haven't had the time to sit down and do it properly. So get settled in because it's not a short, it's probably not going to be too short. I have been going through the process recently of experimenting, as some of you know, experimenting and playing with my business online. So, with mandates here in New Zealand, I was no longer able to practice in the gym. And so I moved into my own home space and started working with people online because of the success I've had with my clients, and that the process I use is somewhat unique as it's sort of an amalgamation of different people's techniques and my own understanding that's come together over about 20 years plus now. I had plenty of people who still wanted to work with me, and I also was able to pick up new people and start helping them. So that was really cool. In that process, I picked up an online coach. I started learning a method of advertising. There were things about that method that I didn't like for my brand, but I still felt that there was good stuff there to learn. So I went down that rabbit hole. And then I started doing, because I was at home, it was a lot easier to practice my meditation. It was a lot easier to practice my self-care. For me, there was a lot of benefit to this shift, even though it's been a huge experiment. Not everything has gone perfectly, as some might perceive, but to me, actually, everything has fallen in place. And something recently started to happen. And I think my awareness was always to watch this process and to see what was happening. But then it got to a point where I was incapable of ignoring the fact that I was completely demotivated by certain elements of what I was doing. And not only that, and this has happened to me a lot in my life, but because this thing was not really aligned with my vibration, and it's a bit of a woo-woo word to use, but because what I was doing was not aligned with what really is what I really want to do, like I do want to work with people online, but actually what I was doing was basically a method of sales. And whilst I think nothing wrong with sales, in fact, it's really good for opening your chakras. It's really good for a lot of things energetically in a person on a spiritual level. It's just, I've done it. I've done sales so much that I have no problem with selling, but I don't want to spend my every waking hour worrying about selling. And so I sort of thought about this for a while, and I was pretty much doing sales most of my time, and I was having to think about sales most of my time. I was having to create, but under pressure and under a timeline, and everything was go, 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 go. And I was basically not practicing what I preach, which is balance. And I was listening to something the other day on Instagram, and it was a music artist, and he was saying, and it's a very masculine energy thing, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with this. But I'm bringing a different angle to it is all I want to talk about today. And he was saying, if you want to exceed, if you want to go that extra mile, if you want to be awesome, then you have to push. You have to do this. You have to do that. You have to grind. You have to, you have to, you have to, you have to. And I was like, I totally get what he's saying. I really do. But it doesn't motivate me to do it because I'm not interested and what my ego wants. I really am. I'm just not. It does not motivate me anymore. And then I got through some really cool work from some of my crew that are working on my online platform. And they'd done some writing for me. And the beauty of that writing is it stimulates me to correct it. It stimulates me to change it. It also is really nice to see some of the stuff that you're saying coming back through to you and people actually hearing it, which is quite rewarding and definitely in line with my ego. But they were writing about meditation and ego, and they had written, and not to knock their work because I actually think their work was really good and really helpful. They'd written that the ego can be useful sometimes because the ego is what makes you unhappy. It's what tells you you're not good enough. It's what leaves you dissatisfied because you have all this sort of ambition, really, because you have all these ideas about what you should be and what you should fulfill and what you should be doing every day. And there's all these shoulds. And invariably, you're not going to live up to all the shoulds in life. And so there's going to be some element of failure in that, or feeling like you failed. And so they hit that bit right. And then they went on to say, but your ego can be helpful. And I'm like, your ego can be helpful. I do agree with that. And then what they went on to say was this idea of, it can motivate you. It can make you want to be better. It can make you want to be better than others. And this is a good thing. And I was like, no, 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 no. And here's why no. Your ego wanting you to compete and be better with someone is why you suffer in the first place. And it's why ultimately someone will eventually come along who's better than you at everything. And then how do you feel? And so a lot of this suffering that, the Buddhists say life is suffering, and it's suffering because you're battling with your ego all the time. And so even this art of using your ego to motivate yourself to get somewhere, to be successful, ultimately you're going to feel unsatisfied. So some of you might then go, well, what do you want me to do? Sit here and do nothing? Keep in mind, Buddha sat under a tree and did nothing and gave up all his wealth and all that sort of stuff. But that's one way. Yeah, do nothing. That's one way. And meditation is, or at least the older forms of meditation is, to some extent, to come to this point where you do nothing and you can observe and you can see. But also what happens in that process when you get, so initially, when you sit down in meditation, you watch your ego, because that's what's been running the show. And so you sit down and you watch this ego, and it keeps coming up and it keeps coming up. And what you're going to do, because you're so used to being involved with your ego, and your ego is so used to running the show, and it's so tricky, is you're going to get into this argument with your ego, and you're going to try and stop your thoughts because someone gave you this idea that being successful in meditation was to stop your thoughts. And so you're going to get into a battle with your ego, and it's going to be torture. It's going to be absolute hell, because you've been told coulda, woulda, shoulda. I hope I'm on a bit of a rant here now, I know. So these ideas we have about meditation lead us to believe that we know what meditation is. And actually, meditation is a discovery process. So you have no idea until you try. And I can try and tell you what it is, but all I can do is guide you along the pitfalls of it. Actually, what meditation is and becomes is really about you becoming you, and you being able to sit with you and being able to be still with that, so much so that what you need to do will well up. The energy that you need will well up. Everything, every resource, every function of your life is going to well up as you become. And as you become, what you need to do becomes clear. And you don't need to be motivated anymore. You want to do it. You don't have to motivate yourself to be successful. You want to do it. And so there won't be any need to think about who you're going to become. You are, and you overflow. Because when you really sit in the wealth of the energy that is this godlike quality of this one in however many trillion people, could have been you, and you occurred, you're going to see that there is actually so much more there. So many, many years ago, 20 years ago, my guru looked at me and he said, oh, you're just so ambitious. And he would shake his head. And there wasn't disgust there, but there was definitely like, ambition is in your way. And I could not for the life of me understand why ambition was a bad thing. And now, after 21 years of battling with my very ambitious self, trying to do various different things, trying to perceive some idea of myself that's outside of me that could possibly be better, or would be happier, or would be in a more successful position, and therefore would actually be satisfied with my life. Through my meditation, I've become satisfied. Through my meditation, if it stayed this way forever, I would be good with that. Like, I love my life. I love the people in it. I love who I am with all my darkness and all my light. I appreciate my shadow self and its silver lining. And yet I still want to do. So I still get up and I still have this, it's a desire, I guess. I still have this desire to put energy out, even more so now I'm more energetic. But I'm not motivated by my ego. In fact, all of those things that come out of an ego kind of desire from me, they seem like a good idea at the time, but when it comes to actually doing them, I cannot be bothered. And so I wanted to do this video, not because I'm driving for something egotistically that's in the future, but because right now I had a realization that the more I have welled up to become the human that I am, the more I am motivated to get out of bed and do the things that I want to do because they just intuitively are the things that I feel I should be doing. And I don't have to fight those things. And so when I was reading this stuff from my team, I was like, I know what I want to say here. I know how I want to correct this, but I can't put words to it. And so I went back to a SadhGuru video, and that's why SadhGuru is actually tagged in this. I went back to a SadhGuru video that I'd started to listen to the other day. It had come up in my playlist of YouTube. And if you don't follow SadhGuru, whether you like him or not, he's worth a listen, even if it stimulates you in a different way. Whatever leads you down the path, whether it's irritation um, or inspiration, it's always good, right? So worth listening to. But I was like, I know Sadhguru was putting words to this the other day. And so I went and I listened to him. And I was like, yes, that's exactly what has been happening in my life. This evolution of just complete disinterest in stuff that is egotistically designed to push me forward. And those things would work. But I tell you right now, they're exhausting. I've been so exhausted by it. And also, my life has been blocking me trying to get that stuff going. Even with my online coach, he got COVID, I got COVID, Christmas came along, adrenals played out, all sorts of things happened. It just didn't fit. It didn't work. And so here is Sadhguru sitting here going, your only job in this life is to become a fully fledged human being, is to become fully whole in yourself, to become holy. If you are not taking in hand spiritual practice, and that means if it's not a conscious part of your thought process, now is the time to start. Now is this time to start delving into psychology and understanding yourself, delving into different meditations and yogas and ecstatic dance and anything it takes to shake you free of all the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. Like anything that it takes to set you free and bring joy into your life by loosening off all that repression, depression, suppression, and allowing it to well up in you. Because there is so much pain and trauma that happens to us through often no fault of anyone's, just our parents trying to survive and being stressed out, sometimes through bigger, harder things, sometimes through actual abuse. Because there is so much of that happening in our world, as children, the relationship between the parent and the child is often broken to some extent, even when the parent tried their damnedest for it to be different. And so as adults, we have to get in touch with our trauma, and we have to understand that the depression, repression, suppression of all of that stuff, just trying to survive as a child and trying to keep ourselves safe, has spilled over into who we are as adults. And sometimes it isn't logic that's going to shake you free from that. It's running, it's jumping, it's screaming into the wind, it's jumping into ice water Wim Hof style. It's anything to shake you to your core and to melt some of that shell that's around you. And then sit down and shut up and enjoy being who you are, even in the painful process of those first years, days, weeks, whatever it takes of meditation, where all you're observing is your ego and all you're doing is judging it and arguing with it until you realize you don't need to anymore, that you are the shadow and the light. Have a great day. I hope to see you all soon. Please comment below. If you're looking for me, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram. It's Erin Palashik, Erin Zen Warrior on Instagram, and I have a few pages there as well. If you want to send me a message, by all means do. I'd love to engage with you, and I would love to chat. Have a great day. Now Erin has to work out how to turn off her live stream. Woo, it's here.